The rain fell like liquid diamonds over Manhattan's Upper East Side, each droplet catching the glow of the streetlights as evening descended upon the city. Alexander Kane stepped out of his penthouse building, his $1,000 Italian shoes clicking against the wet pavement. At 32, he had everything: a tech empire worth hundreds of millions, a face that graced magazine covers, and a life that most could only dream of. Yet something was missing. Every relationship felt hollow, every conversation calculated. Women wanted his wealth, his status, his connections, never just him. "Spare some change, sir." The voice was soft, almost melodic, cutting through the rain's rhythm. Alexander's eyes fell upon a young woman huddled against the building's marble facade. She sat on a piece of cardboard, her clothes worn and oversized, a tattered shawl pulled over her head. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. Pools of amber that held depths he couldn't fathom, intelligent and strangely serene despite her circumstances. Most people walked past her. Alexander had walked past hundreds of homeless individuals before, but something about her pulled at his chest, an invisible thread connecting his heart to hers. "Are you hungry?" he found himself asking, his umbrella tilting to shield her from the rain. She looked up, surprise flickering across her face. Even beneath the grime and rain, he could see delicate features, high cheekbones, and a grace that seemed out of place on these harsh streets. "Ah, yes, sir." "Thank you," she whispered. "Come with me," Alexander said, the words tumbling out before his logical mind could intervene. "There's a restaurant around the corner. Let me buy you dinner." Her name was Alina, or at least that's what she told him. Sitting across from her in the quiet corner of an upscale bistro, Alexander watched as she ate with surprising refinement, her manners impeccable despite her appearance. The staff had given him disapproving looks, but one glare from the city's most powerful young entrepreneur silenced them. "You don't belong on the streets," Alexander said gently, studying her face in the warm restaurant light. "How did you end up there?" Elena's amber eyes met his, and for a moment he saw something flash in them: sadness, secrets, perhaps even amusement. Life has its ways of testing us. "Mr. Kane, sometimes we need to lose everything to understand what truly matters. You know who I am?" A small smile played on her lips. Everyone knows Alexander Kane, the millionaire who built an empire from nothing. The man who has everything. "Not everything," he said quietly, surprising himself with his honesty. "I have money, success, power. But I've never had a conversation that felt this real." Over the next 2 hours, they talked about philosophy, art, literature, and dreams. Alina spoke with an education and eloquence that puzzled him. She quoted Rumi, discussed quantum physics, and debated the ethics of wealth distribution with a sophistication that belonged in boardrooms, not on street corners. When the evening ended, Alexander did something unprecedented. He gave her his card, not his business card, but a personal one he rarely shared. "Meet me tomorrow, same place." His voice held a vulnerability he'd never shown anyone. Alina took the card, her fingers briefly touching his. The contact sent electricity through his veins. "Tomorrow," she agreed, her eyes twinkling with secrets he couldn't decode. Days turned into weeks. Every evening, Alexander would find Alina at the same corner, and every evening they would talk for hours. He brought her meals, warm clothes, and offered her money, which she politely declined. She wanted nothing from him except his time, his thoughts, his authentic self. He fell in love, deeply, completely, irrevocably. It terrified him. Here was this homeless woman who had nothing, yet she made him feel richer than all his millions ever had. She laughed at his jokes without calculation, challenged his ideas without agenda, and looked at him like he was just Alexander, not Alexander Kane, the millionaire. His friends thought he'd lost his mind. A homeless woman. "Alexander, be serious. She's probably scamming you." But when he looked into Elena's eyes, he saw only truth, only kindness, only a soul that recognized his own. One rain-soaked evening, 3 months after they'd met, Alexander made a decision. He knelt on the wet pavement beside her usual spot, pulling out a simple silver ring he'd purchased. Nothing flashy, just pure and honest. "Alina, I don't know your whole story, and maybe you're not ready to share it. But I know this. I've never felt more alive than when I'm with you. You've shown me that wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in moments of genuine connection. Marry me, come live with me. Let me take care of you, not because you need taking care of, but because I need you in my life." Tears streamed down Elena's face, mixing with the rain. "Alexander, there's something you need to know about me." "I don't care," he interrupted, his own eyes glistening. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." Alina stood up, and for the first time since he'd met her, she let the tattered shawl fall away. She took a deep breath, and her entire demeanor shifted. Her posture straightened, her chin lifted. And suddenly, the woman before him radiated an unmistakable aura of power and elegance. "My real name is Alina Castellano," she said softly. "And I'm not homeless, Alexander. I'm a billionaire." The world tilted. "What?" Elena's eyes held his with unwavering honesty. "My family built the Castellano Empire hotels, real estate, technology across 3 continents. I'm worth over $3 billion. 3 months ago, I was drowning in a world of fake people, false love, and endless betrayal. Everyone wanted something from me. I couldn't distinguish truth from manipulation anymore." She stepped closer, taking his trembling hands in hers. "So I did something crazy. I walked away from it all, temporarily. I wanted to know if pure, genuine human connection still existed. I wanted to know if anyone could see value in me when I had nothing visible to offer. I sat on that street corner in disguise, invisible to the world that once worshipped me." Alexander's mind raced, but his heart remained steady. "And then I came along." "And then you came along," she confirmed, her voice breaking with emotion. "You, a millionaire who could have anyone, saw me when I was nothing. You offered me food, conversation, respect, and eventually your heart, not for what I could give you, but for who you thought I was. You proved that genuine kindness still exists in this world." Tears flowed freely down both their faces now. "You were testing me?" Alexander asked, but there was no anger in his voice, only understanding. "No," Alina said firmly, cupping his face in her hands. "I was testing the world. And you, Alexander Kane, you restored my faith in humanity. You showed me that love can be pure, that kindness exists without motive, and that wealth of character far exceeds wealth of wallet." Alexander pulled her close, laughing through his tears. "So the homeless woman I fell in love with is actually richer than me?" Alina laughed too, the sound like music. "Does it matter?" "Not even a little bit," he whispered against her hair. "I fell in love with your soul, your wisdom, your kindness. I fell in love with how you made me feel, truly seen for the first time in my life. Money had nothing to do with it." "Then your answer to my confession?" she asked, pulling back to look into his eyes. Alexander lifted the simple silver ring he was still holding. "My answer is the same as when I thought you were homeless. Marry me, Alina Castellano. Let's build a life where authenticity matters more than appearances, where kindness is our currency, and where we measure our wealth in love, not dollars." She held out her hand, and he slipped the ring on her finger. It looked absurdly simple on the hand of a billionaire, but to both of them, it was more precious than any diamond. "I will," she said, "but on one condition: we use our combined resources to help others find the same genuine connections we found. Let's create programs for the truly homeless, fund mental health services, and build communities based on authentic human connection." Alexander kissed her hand. "I wouldn't have it any other way." A year later, Alina and Alexander Kane Castellano stood together at the opening of the Genuine Heart Foundation, a revolutionary organization that combined their fortunes to serve the homeless, fund arts and education, and create programs connecting people across economic divides. Alina wore a stunning designer gown, but around her neck, on a platinum chain, hung a simple piece of cardboard. The same piece she'd sat on the night they met, now preserved and encased in resin. It was her reminder that life's greatest treasures often come disguised in unexpected packages. Alexander wore the same silver ring. He'd never replaced it with something more expensive. It reminded him that true wealth isn't what you own, but who you love and how you treat others when there's nothing to gain. They had found something rarer than money, more precious than gold, genuine love built on kindness, respect, and the beautiful understanding that every soul has infinite value, regardless of appearances. As they cut the ribbon together, their hands intertwined, they knew their love story wasn't about a millionaire and a beggar, or even about two billionaires. It was about two souls who found each other when they were both searching for something real in a world of illusions. And that, they realized, was the most glamorous story of all. If you like the story, like and subscribe our channel for more kindness stories.